Welcome to Lovecraft Audio. I hope you enjoy the story. One day, a junior classmate whispered in my ear, "Have you heard the saying, childhood sweethearts can't beat those who come later?" That evening, she posted a photo on her personal page publicly announcing her current relationship. As luck would have it, the person in the photo was my younger brother. I immediately texted him. From now on, it's her or me. Turns out I sent it to the wrong person. By the time I realized it, it was too late. The crush I've been secretly admiring replied with a question mark. Ever since I was appointed president of the student association, Meng Yan, a junior, has considered me her mortal enemy. Not only does she compete with me in everything, but she also frequently badmouths me and tries to drive a wedge between me and others. Funnily enough, the people who hear her badmouthing me tell me everything. Leming is my younger brother, and today the little brat came to school to hang out with me. With his tall and handsome appearance, he quickly caught the attention of my roommates. They even jokingly called him my little boyfriend. When we were strolling on the sports field, I mentioned this nickname, perhaps a little too loudly, because the boys playing soccer nearby turned to look. I immediately spotted Ju Yi among them. Ju Yi is the crush I've been secretly admiring since freshman year, the brightest star of the Faculty of Literature, and he often hosts the school's gala nights. The night breeze on the sports field blew his jersey. His soft black hair fluttered slightly, and the streetlights in the distance shone on him. Our eyes met. Ju Yi slowly glanced at Leming and then continued playing soccer and walked away. After he left, Leming asked me, "Sis, does that guy know me?" I was confused. "No, why do you ask?" Then why was he looking at me with such a hungry look like he was eyeing my good looks? Me, Leming. It's all because of my damn charm. Before I could even kick that arrogant brat, an unpleasant voice rang out. "Sister Laran, what a coincidence. Why do I keep running into you wherever I go?" Meng Yan stood not far away, wearing a pristine white dress, tilting her head and waving hello to us. I just wanted to ask her, is tilting your head even legal? "Is that your younger sister?" Leming glanced over and said, "She's quite cute." "Thank you for the compliment." Meng Yan skipped closer, pretending to be innocent as she pointed at the ice cream in Leming's hand, her eyes wide. "What flavor is that? Can I have a taste?" Before Leming could even answer, she took a bite. That's what I was eating." Leming was stunned. I laughed coldly. She likes eating other people's leftovers. The next second, without any hesitation, I pressed Meng Yan's head down, smearing ice cream all over her face. "Ah!" Meng Yan screamed. I smiled and asked, "Sweet?" Leming panicked, quickly helping Meng Yan up and taking out a handkerchief to wipe her face. "You're so nice. It's just that my sister is so mean. It's already bad enough that she doesn't like me, and now she's even..." Meng Yan cried and nestled into Leming's arms, stopping at just the right moment, then grabbed the handkerchief and ran away. "Hey, my handkerchief." Leming was a little embarrassed, not daring to directly ask for his handkerchief back, so he just ran after her, hinting subtly. Watching her hurried departure, I felt incredibly satisfied. "Humph, you little green tea bitch. You think you can compete with me? You're way too naive." I clapped my hands triumphantly. As I was about to leave, I felt a burning gaze from the side. Ju Yi was leaning on a basketball, arms crossed, looking at me with a meaningful expression. Crap! The virtuous image I had painstakingly built up in front of him has been completely destroyed. Our eyes met. He raised an eyebrow at me, and I could only force a smile, pretending to be calm as I turned to leave. 3 seconds later, I took off running. All my face and image are gone. I had underestimated Meng Yan. I always thought she was just a harmless, attention-seeking, green tea bitch who always failed. But unexpectedly, she actually managed to seduce my idiot younger brother. For the next 2 days, Leming didn't come looking for me. Whenever I asked, he'd just say he was busy. And soon after, Meng Yan whispered to me, "Sis, you know how childhood sweethearts never stand a chance against the latecomer?" I saw a post on social media announcing her relationship with Leming. Seriously? Everyone but me found out about my brother's girlfriend through social media. I immediately called the little brat, but the damn thing was constantly busy. Furious, I downed a whole bottle of beer and texted Leming, who was always at the top of my priority list. From now on, it's her or me. I fell asleep right after sending it, only to realize I'd sent it to the wrong person. By the time I realized, it was too late. I couldn't recall it, and they'd already seen it. Jui, my God, the guy I had pinned to the top of my contact list, replied. Huh? At that moment, I was sitting in a general studies class, my mind reeling and my eyes wide, staring at the message on my phone. Should I explain? But what would I even say? Or should I just pretend I didn't see it? Jui is super busy anyway. He probably gets 1,000 messages a day. Maybe he'll forget about it. That's it. As long as I'm thick-skinned enough, no one can do anything to me. I decided to exit WeChat, intending to slump on the desk and take a nap, when suddenly, a tall shadow loomed beside me. I still had my eyes closed, so I didn't realize that the surrounding whispers had completely stopped. Some people seemed to take a deep breath and let out small gasps of surprise. A moment later, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" A male student's voice rang out beside me, clear as day, with a familiar intonation. Each syllable, like a familiar melody so close to my ear, made me instantly open my eyes. I only saw Ju-yi looking down at me. He was wearing a red and black plaid shirt, with black hair and dark, shining eyes. His long eyelashes cast shadows on his eyelids. Having shed the dazzling aura of the stage and elegant suits, the brightest star of the Faculty of Literature still shone brilliantly in everyday life. This was the first time I'd been so close to him. Around us, a few girls were secretly taking pictures with their phones. Before I could even feel embarrassed, Ju-yi naturally put his backpack down on the table. "Is anyone sitting here?" "No, no one is." I tried to suppress the joy in my heart, glancing around triumphantly. There were clearly many empty seats, but Ju-yi chose to sit next to me. What did he mean by that? What did this signify? "Loran." Ju-yi suddenly called my name. Only then did I realize he was still tilting his head to look at me. "I'm here today to discuss the upcoming model competition co-organized by our two faculties. You're the new Student Union President of the Faculty of Foreign Languages, and I'm representing the Faculty of Literature to discuss the plans." I woke up and regained my serious, work-like demeanor. "Then let's discuss it further after class." "Okay, a model competition?" I suddenly remembered the performance I saw when I first enrolled. Ju-yi held hands with the Faculty of Literature's belle, Chang'an Shui, shining all over the stage. The cheers were so loud they almost shattered my eardrums. It must be said that both Ju-yi and Chang'an Shui were cool and aloof, always maintaining a calm demeanor, always looking straight ahead wherever they went, walking decisively. I had seen them appear together at events several times. They walked in perfect sync, and whenever they saw me, they would only nod slightly in greeting and then pass by without leaving a trace. "Are you participating this time too?" I couldn't help but ask. Ju-yi looked at me and slowly blinked to confirm. "Then great, you two will still be the finale performance." "You two?" Ju-yi raised an eyebrow. He narrowed his eyes, almost whispering to me. "You and who?" I blurted out. "Chang'an Shui, who else?" The gentle sunlight outside the window shone on his eyelashes. Ju-yi looked at me intently, his eyes a little ambiguous and hard to read. "Oh." For some reason, the simple "oh" was emphasized, as if a final question had been answered and he was sighing in relief. A moment later, he replied decisively, "Chang'an Shui is busy. He doesn't have a scene partner anymore." If I was still wondering what could be keeping Chang'an Shui so busy in class, I found the answer during lunch. I was holding my favorite fried chicken lunchbox, eagerly planning to sit and eat with Ju-yi, when I suddenly saw my idiot younger brother sitting not far away, chatting happily with a girl. His little mouth wouldn't stop, talking non-stop. "Leming, you are so dead meat." I angrily slammed my tray onto the table and was about to go and pinch his ear, but as I got closer, I realized that the girl sitting opposite him wasn't Meng Yan, but Chang'an Shui. Leming was sitting opposite her with an infatuated look in his eyes, with 3 overflowing lunch trays in front of him. "Sister Anne Shui, I heard you like braised pork, so I bought the last 3 portions for you. As long as you talk to me, I'll let you eat them all." "Sister Anne Shui, your hair clip today is so pretty. You like this kind, right?" I'll buy a few more for you as gifts. What are you eating? Is the food good today? I think you're too thin. You should eat more meat. What kind of meat do you like to eat? Chang'an Shui calmly kept his head down, eating his rice, ignoring Li Ming's constant chatter. Me? Li Ming, do you know there's a type of creature called a simp in this world? That's exactly what you are. I suddenly didn't want to call him anymore. I didn't know this person. However, just as I was about to quietly leave, Chang'an Shui suddenly put down his chopsticks. She raised her head, a flicker of something unusual flashing across her beautiful yet cold eyes. Immediately after, a loud voice rang out. Ming Ming, what are you doing here? Meng Yan had arrived uninvited. Before Li Ming could even answer, Chang'an Shui abruptly stood up, forcefully elbowing Li Ming, her face icy as she left. Li Ming moved to chase after her, but I blocked him, smiling sweetly as I patted his face. Tell me, when did you get a girlfriend? Li Ming was anxiously trying to follow Chang'an Shui, his eyes glued to her, but Meng Yan grabbed his arm, preventing him from leaving. Meng Yan clearly didn't notice Li Ming's gaze. She focused solely on me, deliberately speaking loudly. Sister Laran, isn't it inappropriate to be so close to my boyfriend in public? The noise in the cafeteria suddenly died down, and Zhu Yi, who was looking for me, also turned to look. Meng Yan stubbornly held onto Li Ming's arm. Sister Laran, please have some self-respect. Don't be so desperate because you've been single since birth that you start eyeing other people's boyfriends. So she wants to turn against me, huh? No more pretending to be sweet sisters? I stared at Meng Yan, a faint smile playing on my lips. Li Ming looked at us bewildered. Meng Yan, are you crazy? He's my little boyfriend. I finished, smiling. Li Ming. Zhu Yi, who had been walking over, stopped upon hearing that, observing from a short distance with a thoughtful expression. Meng Yan almost burst out laughing. Oh really? You admitted it yourself. You really have no shame. Zhu Yi's eyes subtly changed. Meng Yan, shut your mouth. Li Ming's face darkened, turning to Meng Yan and speaking as quietly as possible. I know he's trying to save Meng Yan's face in front of everyone, but he's clearly fed up with this girl. Admitted what? I feigned confusion, looking at Li Ming. She said I stole her boyfriend, so that's you? I gritted my teeth, questioning Li Ming. Answer me, are you Meng Yan's boyfriend? It's not like that. Li Ming scratched his head in annoyance. We were playing Truth or Dare and I lost, so she made me post it publicly online. Actually, I kind of wanted to provoke. It's good that it's not. I jumped up and wrapped my arms around Li Ming's neck, squeezing tightly enough to almost choke him. I deliberately said to Meng Yan, who was turning green with anger, looks like someone was just imagining things. Meng Yan, the people around us burst out laughing. Meng Yan angrily tried to grab Li Ming's hand, but he pulled it away and refused. I was wrong, I was really wrong. Li Ming, looking like he actually wanted to survive me, pleaded, I have class this afternoon. I beg your majesty to spare my life and let me go back to class. Go on then. I let go, and Li Ming immediately scurried away. I deliberately yelled after him, My little boyfriend, I officially announce, I'm dumping you. I clearly heard a few male students beside me chuckle. Looking over, I saw Zhu Yi still had a faint smile on his face. The food's getting cold. He walked over and casually said, Let's go, I'll take you out to eat. I saw Meng Yan's expression darken, to the point where it couldn't get any worse. She watched us leave, a strange smile flickering across her lips. Sitting in the Sichuan spicy food restaurant, I was surprised that Zhu Yi had brought me here. I didn't expect such a handsome, fair-skinned guy like him to like spicy food, but I'm pretty sure he's from the north, isn't he? As a southerner, I not only like spicy food, but it has to be super spicy. It's just a shame that the food at school is always so bland, making me want to sigh every time I eat. Looking at the menu full of dishes that suited my taste, I couldn't help but happily order a lot. When the food was served, Zhu Yi gently ladled soup for me, pushing the delicious dishes in front of me, while in front of him, there was only a small plate of green vegetables. He looked so pitiful. Aren't you going to eat? This chili fish head is delicious. And this chili chicken stir-fry, it looks like it has a lot of chili, but it's not really that spicy. Zhu Yi pursed his lips and smiled. Okay, but he only picked at a symbolic piece. and then only ate the vegetables. I felt a little embarrassed and didn't dare to eat as freely anymore. "Juyi, are you perhaps unable to eat spicy food?" He was polite like a gentleman, just looked up and smiled, saying, "I already ate at the cafeteria, I'm not hungry." I pretended to believe him, but in my heart I thought to myself, he definitely deliberately brought me to this Sichuan restaurant. "Juyi, do you like me? Just say it, and I'll immediately fall into your arms." Just as the corners of my mouth were about to curve into a smug smile, Juyi suddenly looked up at me. Is something the matter? My heart started racing. Was he about to confess? "Say it, Appa. I'll agree to anything you say. You have rice on your face." He reached out and gently brushed it off my face. I looked at the grain of rice on his fingertip, and the spot on my face where he had just touched started to feel tingly and hot. Before, everyone knew Juyi was a clean freak, right? And yet "This restaurant is delicious, isn't it?" Juyi said with a smile, slowly blinking. "Let's come here often in the future." At that time, I didn't understand what he meant, until it was time to pay. Little Juyi brought his friend here. "Give your dad my regards." The waitress smiled brightly at Juyi. Juyi returned the greeting. "Thank you, Auntie Tran. We'll be going now." Juyi led me away without paying, and the couple sitting near the window stared after us in surprise. Later, I found out that this restaurant belonged to Juyi's father. Not just this restaurant, but also the popular places around school, like the Hot Pot restaurant, the gym, the cat cafe. It could be said that Juyi's father had expanded his business empire everywhere. Moreover, the reason he opened those places wasn't to make money, but to create a good living environment for his son. The world of the rich is truly incomprehensible. We walked together in silence, only occasionally catching glances of admiration from passers-by. When we were almost back to school, Juyi suddenly spoke. "So you broke up with your little boyfriend?" "Oh, a bead of cold sweat trickled down my forehead as I wondered how to explain it to him. Actually, don't be sad." Juyi's gaze lowered as he considered how to console me appropriately. "You're very good. Don't worry, you'll definitely meet someone better in the future." His voice was pleasant to listen to, the gentle tone making my ears tickle. For some reason, I blurted out, "I don't trust people who are too young. I don't like them." The cicadas buzzed loudly in the branches, and our two long shadows on the ground gently intertwined in the breeze. Many years later, I still remember this moment clearly. The boy I secretly admired stood beside me. The streets were quiet, and the temperature was just right. "You don't like younger people." His voice trailed off with a hint of contemplation, and then he suddenly smiled. "Then, what about me?" Juyi was born on October 29th, just 1 month older than me. If I had clearly heard what Juyi said at that moment, I would have definitely jumped up and suggested dating him immediately. But just as he spoke, a car drove by, and the engine noise was so loud that I could only see his lip movements. Just as my heart was pounding and I was about to ask him to repeat himself, my phone rang. It was the teacher in charge, saying that this year's model competition would be held earlier. Because there were leaders coming to inspect, the school attached great importance to this event. The MC had already been selected, and we needed to finalize the list of contestants quickly. The teacher especially emphasized, Ran, you're so beautiful. You must participate to bring glory to the foreign languages department." I put my hand to my forehead, sighed, and agreed. On the other side, Juyi also received a call from his teacher. The conversation was similar, both requesting that he definitely participate in this competition. After hanging up, we both turned to look at each other. "How about we participate together?" I tentatively asked. Juyi looked at me, his eyes shining brightly, and his lips softly replied, "Okay." After returning to school, we started drafting the competition program and issuing announcements to encourage people to register. From my roommate, I learned that the reason the two teachers in charge specifically asked me and Juyi to participate was because Cheng and Shui had registered to be the MC for the competition. This meant that, according to the rules, she wouldn't be able to compete. The school had approved it, and the faculty had no objections, so they had to target other outstanding candidates on the God and Goddess list. "Wait, God and Goddess list?" I was surprised. Am I even on that? My roommate giggled, opening a bag of potato chips. The voting started during freshman military training. I was so thirsty after training back then, and I saw a sign in the square saying you'd get a can of Coke if you registered. So I filled in your name. Even though I felt like my head was about to explode, I tried to restrain myself, telling myself not to get angry. Not to get angry. What's done is done. Getting angry is useless, and I couldn't ruin a 3-year friendship with my roommate over this. So what was my ranking anyway? My roommate blinked. Actually, not many people participated in the voting for this list, mostly student union members. You were originally tied with Chang'an Shui for second place on the goddess list, but then someone on the god list voted, and he voted for you, so you ended up in first place. Oh, that person has good taste. I raised an eyebrow. Juyi must be number 1 on the god list, right? Definitely. Juyi has been the most outstanding person in our school from the beginning. Don't even mention this unofficial list. Even if there was an official list, he would definitely be number 1. The atmosphere in the room immediately became lively. The other 2 roommates who were preparing for their teacher certification exams couldn't sit still either, and joined the discussion about the popular handsome guys in school. However, at that moment, I was in no mood for anything, because Meng Yan had also signed up. To be fair, even if Meng Yan was a green tea beach, she could pull off that kind of girl thanks to her decent looks. She had a petite and gentle appearance, coupled with a slender figure, making her look like a fragile and pitiful girl. Even in the foreign languages department, which was full of outstanding people, her beauty was still considered remarkable. I told myself that this was a school competition, and the goal was to bring honor to the department, so I shouldn't mix public and private matters. After a moment's thought, I closed my eyes and pressed the approve button on her application. The next morning, the preliminary round of the model competition took place, and unsurprisingly, Meng Yan passed. The guys on the judging panel couldn't stop blushing and praising her cuteness, while Meng Yan replied with a sickeningly sweet tone, her eyes challenging and smug as she looked at me. After the event ended, she even took the initiative to ask to walk with me. Sister Loran, so Leming is your younger brother? A hint of resentment flashed in Meng Yan's eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Why should I tell you? I smiled. So you can snatch my next boyfriend too? If you like him, just go get him. I won't be jealous. Compared to Leming, I find someone else much more interesting. Meng Yan's eyes became uneasy. I heard that Juyi always keeps his distance from female students. For 3 years, those who have interacted with him have only reached the level of colleagues. Who do you think he would choose if we both made a move? I glanced at her modest chest. What do you think? Meng Yan replied without hesitation. Of course he will choose me. I'm confident I can win when dealing with people like him. There isn't a man in this world who doesn't like a girl like me. Like Leming? She replied confidently. Of course. But the very next second, Sister An Shui, wait for me, let me hold your cue cards. Leming chased after Chang'an Shui, calling out to her as he ran. Meng Yan, forget about Leming. I don't like guys as foolish as him. But Senior Juyi, I'm interested in him, and I'm confident I can win him over. Then give it a try, I replied coldly and walked away. In the following days, Juyi and I personally took care of the preparations for the competition, from building the stage and arranging the props, to organizing the personnel. With less than a week until the competition began, we couldn't afford to let any mistakes happen. After each class, the 2 of us would immediately rush to the auditorium, so busy that we didn't even have time to eat properly. We wouldn't leave until the contestants had dispersed, trying to work until the very last minute. We also took the opportunity to practice, and surprisingly, Juyi and I had an unusual chemistry. Almost without needing to say much, we both knew how to coordinate perfectly. Our movements were completely synchronized, causing those around us to praise us. Every time I gently placed my hand on Juyi's hand, I felt a slight electric current run through me. But looking at his serious face, I had to quickly return to work mode. Many times Meng Yan tried to approach Juyi when he was working alone, but he ignored her. There were also a few male students who wanted to talk to Meng Yan, but compared to Juyi, she chose to continue pursuing him. During this busy preparation period, Liming became a rare source of entertainment. That kid was truly a sight to behold. Wherever Chang'an Shui went, he followed. If she stopped, he would stand to the side, fanning her, offering her water, and constantly telling jokes to make her happy. However, that girl had no intention of paying attention to Liming. I stood to the side watching, and it annoyed me. That idiot is really losing face for the Liu family. How can anyone be such a simp these days? Initially, Juyi had even thought I had feelings for Liming. That is until the little rascal loudly called me older sister in front of everyone. The tone he used made it immediately obvious we were siblings. I remember very clearly that Juyi was discussing with a member of the organizing committee about preventing outsiders from causing trouble. Just as they were about to reach an agreement, Liming's shout of older sister echoed across the field. Juyi immediately looked over at me. "Sis, please, can you talk to Dad for me and tell him to return my summer job wages? I want to buy a dress for Shui." Liming grabbed my arm, shaking it back and forth. My face darkened. "What sister Shui are you talking about? I haven't even seen a penny of your summer job money, and you dare ask me to help you get it?" I turned to Juyi. "Didn't I just hear you guys talking about clearing out unwanted personnel? Just kick Liming out. He's an eyesore." Unexpectedly, Juyi walked over and stood next to me, looking at Liming with an unusually gentle gaze. Even almost affectionate. It's normal for young boys to be a little energetic. Our school is open-minded and always welcomes students from other schools to watch the competition. Me. "Juyi, why did your attitude change so fast?" Liming whistled at Juyi, then seeing Chang'an Shui get up, he quickly chased after her. "Sister Shui, where are you going?" "What a coincidence. I was just about to go there too." Chang'an Shui replied, "To the ladies' room? Want to come along?" The whole venue burst into laughter. With Juyi's unexpected support, Liming became even more confident in continuing his simping lifestyle. I wanted to drag him away more than once, to stop him from bothering people, but each time Juyi stopped me. Actually, Liming is quite cute. I was stunned to hear the word cute come out of the mouth of a cold god like Juyi. Everyone likes him. Cute, likes. I looked at Liming, who was 181 meters tall, dressed casually, with messy hair that looked a bit goofy, and big round eyes like two black grapes. When he smiled, he had small dimples. Then I looked at Juyi, who was 1.87 meters tall, wearing a branded jacket over a black shirt, with long, sharp eyes and upturned corners. He had a cold but handsome appearance. They actually look quite good together. No, what am I thinking? Not so sure. I glanced in another direction. I think Chang'an Shui seems very annoyed with that kid. She likes peace and quiet. Juyi smiled meaningfully. If she really hated someone, she wouldn't let them follow her around all the time. The clearest sign of liking someone is not being able to stop wanting to be near them. For some reason, Juyi's words made my heart beat faster. Liking someone, the clearest sign is not being able to stop wanting to be near them? Then what about you? Is it because you like me that you're always by my side? The wind outside the window blew in, carrying a faint floral scent, brushing past the bright eyebrows of the young man. He really is handsome. I suddenly thought that these days are really wonderful. Having someone by my side, being busy together, having fun, talking and laughing. However, like the sky that isn't always clear, green tea bitches will never miss an opportunity to cause trouble. 2 days before the official competition, Meng Yan suddenly fell in front of everyone and was pushed by me to the point of spraining her ankle. Her performance was so smooth that even professional actors would be ashamed. Liming didn't come today. There were only 2 MCs and members of the student union in the room. Juyi had just gone out to buy milk tea for everyone. Meng Yan, are you crazy? Now you're trying to frame me? What benefit would I get from pushing you? I was so angry that I couldn't restrain myself. Meng Yan put on such a painful expression that tears were about to well up in her eyes. She bit her lip and said, "Say whatever you want. Just consider it my own clumsiness that made me fall. Tomorrow is the competition. It's okay if I'm injured, but I'm really scared of embarrassing our school." Her words immediately resonated with the male students nearby. They looked at Meng Yan with eyes filled with pity and admiration. Chung Anshui coldly spoke up. Laran had no reason to push you. Meng Yan, you really know where to fall. It has to be admitted that girls can often see through green tea betches, but guys can't. Or perhaps some guys, even if they know the girl they like is a green tea batch, are still willing to defend her. And so, Wang Zheng, who had praised Meng Yan as cute during the preliminary round, immediately stepped forward to protect his goddess. Come on, don't let you older girls bully a younger one. Saying Laran had no reason to push Meng Yan, then is Meng Yan supposed to hurt herself just to frame someone else? Look at how much pain she's in. Wang Zheng immediately bent down. Come here, let me give you a piggyback to the infirmary. Chung Anshui let out a cold laugh and stepped to my side. Laran, don't pay any attention to him. We don't need to bother with idiots. Meng Yan glanced at Wang Zheng's sweat-soaked back, a hint of disgust flashing in her eyes. She refused to offer her hand to Wang Zheng until the auditorium doors opened, and Zhu Yi walked in, carrying a box of milk tea. Brother Zhu, Meng Yan clutched at him like a drowning person grasping at a lifeline, her voice filled with sorrow. Zhu Yi put the box of milk tea down, took out a cup, poked in a straw, and handed it to me. This action happened smoothly in front of everyone, and Meng Yan's eyes darkened. What's going on? Zhu Yi looked at me. Don't blame Laran. She accidentally made me fall. It's also my fault. I know she doesn't like me because of some small things in the past. I wasn't asking you. Zhu Yi interrupted her, looking at me seriously, as if confirming whether I was hurt. Are you okay? I'm okay. I pointed at Meng Yan. But Meng Yan keeps insisting that I pushed her down. Stop talking, look how much pain she's in. I'll take her to the infirmary. Wang Zheng bent down again. Come on, get on my back. No, I'm too heavy, you don't need to. Meng Yan resisted. Actually, I'm fine. I just need to sit here for a bit. How can you be fine? I need to buy medicine for you too. Wang Zheng looked utterly foolish. He pointed at me. This should be taken care of by the person who caused it. Before I could speak, Zhu Yi stepped forward, standing between me and Wang Zheng. Zhu Yi, what's wrong with you? Why are you protecting that but... The word bastard was cut short by a clear crack. Zhu Yi grabbed Wang Zheng's hand, twisted it lightly, followed by Wang Zheng's terrified scream. Not only were the surrounding students shocked, but even Meng Yan was so scared that she jumped up. Laran said she didn't do it, and I believe her. Zhu Yi's eyes were cold, staring at Wang Zheng with murderous intent. And about your filthy mouth, I wouldn't mind teaching you a lesson your parents failed to. It's so cool. Zhu Yi even argued with clear enunciation, as if he were making an announcement. His tall figure blocked me, looking down at Wang Zheng, who was groaning on the ground. I'll pay for the medicine, and I'll take any punishment. But today you must apologize to Laran. Wang Zheng. Meng Yan quietly lowered her head and retreated from the battle, while Wang Zheng, terrified of Zhu Yi, was forced to apologize. I didn't bother looking at him, and worriedly asked Zhu Yi, what if he reports it to the teacher? He wouldn't dare. Chung Anshui, who had been silent until now, said coldly, Wang Zheng spends all day and night outside at bars, skipping class to play games. If he dares to exaggerate things, I won't hesitate to let all the teachers know his true character. Wang Zheng's face went white, then turned green. He quickly stood up, covered his face, and ran outside. I was truly overwhelmed. As expected of the beauty and the god of the literature department, both of them are so powerful. Chung Anshui, thank you. I sincerely thanked her, and Chung Anshui smiled at me. I have to say, my little brother really has an eye for people. He noticed the prettiest girl in the literature department even before I did. Even though the Lack family's tactics were a bit underhanded this time, I still want to support my brother in bringing this future sister-in-law home. Hey, I'll treat you two to dinner to thank you for your help today. Zhu Yi immediately agreed, and Chung Anshui also nodded, but she added, could we invite your brother too? He left a pen at my place earlier. I noticed that her ears turned slightly red when she finished that sentence. How could Leming refuse an invitation from his goddess? At the BBQ restaurant, Leming rushed over and sat right next to Chung Anshui, but she coldly scooted away a bit. You didn't need to come. You haven't been around for 2 days anyway. Leming widened his eyes and stammered an explanation. I've been studying for midterms lately. I went home to study these past 2 days. Didn't you say you didn't like guys who weren't good students? I smiled and explained on his behalf. And Shui, even though my brother isn't always serious, he's quite intelligent. He's not as good as you, but he scored over 650 on the college entrance exam. That's right, there's nothing wrong with our family's genes. Leming gave me a grateful look, clasping his hands together in a gesture of thanks. I'm truly worthy of being his older sister. Leming quickly added, my sister's the same, both beautiful and talented. She was the school beauty since she was little. On that I agree. Chang'an Shui glanced at him with a nonchalant expression. So there's truth to what the books say about genetic bias. Juyi smiled as he listened, quietly grilling the pork belly and beef balls that I liked best. And Shui, I brought the yogurt my sister likes to drink. If she just looks at me, I'll give it to her. I silently drank my tea, only feeling that my younger brother's bootlicking skills were getting more and more advanced, reaching this level now. While I was sipping my hot tea, a hot cocoa with a straw was brought over. Juyi's white, slender hands hadn't withdrawn yet, and he smiled at me. Thanks. Beside me, Leming and Chang'an Shui were still teasing each other, while I blushed as I accepted it. Today was the day I had menstrual cramps, and I already felt unwell during the day. Drinking something warm made me feel much better. Order anything else you want to eat. Do you want lamb chops? Juyi asked me. I felt bad about the money, but still tried to appear generous and said it was fine, as long as everyone liked it. Juyi turned away, trying to suppress a laugh. A moment later, he suddenly leaned forward, whispering close to my ear. Don't worry about the cost today, because this restaurant also belongs to my dad. His breath carried a faint mint scent. I didn't know if it was because the barbecue restaurant was too hot, but my face flushed uncontrollably. This meal was clearly for 4 people, but it seemed to be divided into 2 sides. Everyone had their own thoughts and their own joys. The only thing that didn't change was that everyone's face was slightly red. After the meal, Leming suggested going to see a movie. I chose the movie Love Letter, while Leming and Chang'an Shui chose a horror movie. I looked at Leming and asked seriously, "Are you sure you're okay?" Leming replied heroically, "A man can never say no." Okay. I rolled my eyes disdainfully, then went into the cinema with Juyi. It must be said that this movie was really touching. The delicate and introverted boy, the clumsy but vibrant girl, sunlight flooding the library, sheer white curtains gently swaying. Until the library card was flipped over, revealing the sketched portrait behind it. All the audience couldn't help but burst into tears. That's young love, isn't it? I just want to quietly stay by your side, watching you from afar. The most beautiful thing about unrequited love is keeping it unspoken, letting time bury it. I used to like you, but you never knew. As my tears blurred my vision, a warm hand gently wiped them from my cheek. Juyi, don't you think life has too many regrets? Why can't people be honest about liking someone, instead of waiting until they're separated forever? Juyi looked at me, his eyes flickering slightly. Light and shadow cut across his face, and I couldn't clearly see the expression in his eyes. Maybe it's because they're afraid of losing something, before they're sure of the other person's feelings for them. I remembered clearly that Juyi used to be a clean freak. Before, when our group prepared the microphone for him, it had to be a new one. But recently, he always seemed to use his hand to wipe away any mess I made clumsily. It's okay. As my emotions surged, I grabbed his shirt, bursting into tears in his arms. The boy stiffened slightly for a moment, but immediately after, his hand gently patted my back. I won't leave you. His voice was so soft, but I heard it very clearly. It was also on that night that I made a decision. After the competition ends tomorrow, I will confess to him. By then, whether it's just wishful thinking on my part or not, everything will be revealed. After the movie ended, Leming, with wobbly legs, was helped out of the theater by Chang'an Shui. That girl was laughing so hard she was doubled over, and Leming, though pale, couldn't help but laugh along. They saw us back to the entrance of the girls' dormitory. Before saying goodbye, Juyi called me back. Leran. I turned back to look at him. The tall boy stood under the flowering tree, silently watching me with gentle, warm eyes. I felt like I had met the god of my heart that summer, a god who made me melt. The model competition is tomorrow night. Good luck. Good luck. I looked into his eyes and smiled. On the final night, Juyi in his performance attire was so handsome it nearly gave me a nosebleed. His slicked back hair accentuated his nobility and regal bearing, every gesture exuding elegance and sophistication. Especially when he looked at me through the crowd, his eyes gentle, a smile playing on his lips. I felt myself drowning in them. Meanwhile, Meng Yan stood to the side, desperately seeking an opportunity to go on stage, but was rejected by the organizing committee with the reason, "You're injured, you should rest." She slumped by the door, watching everyone busily moving back and forth with a look that was both sad and envious. Senior Laran. As I walked past, Meng Yan suddenly called out to me, "That vintage dress looks really good." I just looked at her without saying anything. In the silent moment, Meng Yan suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. Am I not ridiculous? I continued to silently watch her mocking herself. I know everyone dislikes me. There must be many people laughing at me behind my back. I tried so hard to play the weak victim, but in the end, it got me nowhere. Meng Yan smiled bitterly, then slowly stood up. Actually, I regret it a little. I shouldn't have done that. Honestly, I'm really envious of you. It's better to try and do good things. I didn't know what to say, I just sighed. The student union elections will change next year. Juniors will have more opportunities. Don't do things like that again. Seeing Juyi waving at me from afar, I smiled, picked up my dress, and walked towards him. As for Meng Yan, I don't know if she heard what I said, but I hope she'll reconsider and change her ways. You look beautiful tonight. Juyi's eyes were fixed on me, he said with a smile. I can't take my eyes off you. I touched his arm. Don't get distracted during the competition later, okay? Haha, I won't. The official competition began, and pairs of handsome men and beautiful women appeared one after another. The audience below the stage cheered continuously. Even the teachers, who were usually serious, couldn't help but clap along. Everyone seemed to rediscover the passion and vitality of youth. Along with the pounding music, the competition gradually came to an end. Finally, it was Juyi's and my turn. He bowed slightly and gallantly extended his hand. May I have this dance, my princess? I burst out laughing and placed my hand in his. As the curtain was raised, we walked out to the music. The audience was silent for a moment, then erupted in cheers. I declare this couple the champions already. So handsome, so beautiful. Someone save me. Debut already, please, you two. I can't take it anymore. I just want to rush onto the stage and tie you two up. Stay right there and don't go anywhere. The cheers echoed throughout the hall, and the judges below the stage couldn't help but sit up straight. As I walked to the front of the stage, I noticed the person sitting in the middle, whose nameplate read, Ju Zhenghai. I had never experienced the feeling of so many cameras pointing at me before. My hand trembled slightly, and Juyi immediately took my hand, giving me the greatest comfort. Ha 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 ha, senior's blushing! A female student suddenly stood up and shouted. Juyi slightly twitched his fingers, and I could hear him trying to hold back his laughter. Senior is holding Senior's hand and is so shy, confess already. The cheers continued to ring out. Juyi tried to suppress his laughter and led me across the stage. As soon as we got backstage, he seemed to shed all his tension and took out a rose from behind his back. Loren, they said I was shy just now, so now I have to defend myself. I was touched and covered my mouth with my hand. His voice was like an enchantment, each word echoing in my ears. Of course, anyone would feel shy when meeting someone they like. I've liked you since the first time I saw you during freshman military training. My roommate at the time said you definitely already had a boyfriend, and I thought so too, which is why I hesitated until now. He seemed to be relieved of a great burden and knelt down on one knee. I saw a delicate ring perched on top of the rose. I don't want to end up like in the movies, filled with regrets. So, Laran, my classmate, please accept my confession and be my girlfriend. He said clearly, and instantly, the curtain behind him was drawn open, revealing the happy faces of many friends. Led by Liming and Chang'an Shui, everyone clapped and cheered in unison. Senior, say yes, say yes! I was surprised by the arrangements of tonight. and touched that the person I secretly admired was confessing to me first. As soon as I reached out my hand, Ju Yi quickly slipped the ring engraved with my name onto my ring finger. "Everyone, be a witness. From now on, Loran is mine. She's no longer single. No one is allowed to flirt with her." The next second, he pulled me into his arms. I could hear his heartbeat racing just as fast as mine. "Hello, Loran, my girlfriend." I hugged him tightly and gently replied, "Hello, Ju Yi, my boyfriend." In that competition, we deservedly won first place. And that very night, encouraged by the events, Liming also confessed to Chang'an Shui. She happily agreed. Since then, we began happy days of being thoroughly cared for by our boyfriends. One day, Chang'an Shui and I felt a little embarrassed about constantly receiving gifts from them, so we decided to make heart-shaped lunchboxes ourselves as a return gift. Wanting to show our respect, Chang'an Shui and I packed them up and took them right over without tasting them first. Liming grimaced but still finished his portion. As soon as he was done, he pretended to gag, then rushed outside, Chang'an Shui hurrying after him. Ju Yi, on the other hand, sat enjoying his meal slowly, as if he were having a luxurious dinner with wine and steak. "Are you that good of a cook?" I wondered, leaning over the table to look at him. "Is it good?" "Yeah, really good." Ju Yi wiped his mouth with a napkin, then casually peeled an orange. I couldn't resist, and picked up my chopsticks to try a bite myself. Ugh! This time I had to admit it. I had never eaten anything so salty and oily in my life. I felt like I was going to choke. At first, the corners of Ju Yi's mouth twitched, but he finally couldn't help but burst out laughing so hard the tables and chairs shook. When he had laughed enough, he finished peeling the orange and held it to my mouth. Lately, he had a strange habit of making me call him brother whenever he did this. "Be good, call me brother." Annoyed, I turned my head away, ignoring him. So Ju Yi stepped in front of me, leaned down, and gently said to me as if coaxing a child, "Be good now, I was just kidding. I'll take you home later. Someone named Zhu Zhenghai wants to meet you." Zhu Zhouhai. The image of the leader sitting in the middle with a kind smile during the model competition flashed in my mind. "Okay," Ju Yi emphasized. "He's my dad." In the next second, he pressed his face against my cheek. He wants to meet his beautiful and intelligent daughter-in-law, to see who could make his son so infatuated. That summer, 2 bicycles were often seen on the tree-lined paths of the school. Liming was with Chang'an Shui, and Ju Yi was with me. We often went on picnics together, but once we arrived, we'd split up for our own dates. Liming confessed that he fell in love with the girl on stage at first sight when he was sitting in the audience watching Ju Yi and me host a show. Afterward, he shamelessly went backstage to ask for her contact information. Since then, every time Liming came to see me, his purpose wasn't just to visit his older sister. And the reason that little brat agreed to participate in the adventure game with Meng Yan was actually to gather the courage to test Chang'an Shui's feelings. As soon as he said that, someone twisted Liming's ear without any mercy. He quickly apologized repeatedly, promising never to dare do it again. Ju Yi also confessed a small secret of his own. During the beauty contest during military training, he was the one who voted for me on the male students' ranking list. "Ah, so you also appreciate my older sister's beauty." Liming, still barely able to take care of himself, still made a show of waving his hand at Ju Yi. Ju Yi smiled and said, "Love at first sight is true, but liking everything about Ran Ran is also true. Do you remember your first election for the student union?" Time has passed for so long I had almost forgotten, but I still tried to recall some faint memories. Back then, the student unions of each faculty were holding recruitment events at the main building. I heard from an upperclassman that you had to treat the interviewers politely to make a good impression. So, from the moment I entered the building, I always maintained a humble attitude, and my eyes were also carefully cautious. While everyone was nervously holding their notes, practicing over and over, a male student leisurely dragged his backpack past. Because his aura was too outstanding and his appearance was too exceptional, everyone who passed by silently followed him with their eyes. That was Ju Yi. The only thing was, I wasn't in the mood to admire his good looks then. I assumed he must be some kind of powerful head of a department. so I mustered all my courage and took the first step to strike up a conversation in my life. "Excuse me?" Jui stopped and turned to look at me. "I just wanted to mention that your bag is unzipped." Jui later told me that his first impression of me was of a well-behaved and cute girl. Unexpectedly, after the student association interview, he happened to see me on the stage in the next room, giving a passionate speech without even looking at my notes. At that time, he stood leaning against the door, curiously watching the whole process, and secretly memorized the name, Loran. "You once said you don't like younger brothers, so that means you like older brothers then." Jui pinned me against the wall in a kabadon position, his passionate gaze quietly falling on my lips. Before I could say anything, he suddenly lowered his head and kissed me, his voice muffled in the kiss. "As it happens, your older brother is right here." The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please give Lovecraft Audio a like and subscribe to motivate me to create more great videos. Thank you all so much.